Hi, this is Amy Tanner. Hi, classmates, Teresa, Latrina, and Dr. Livingston. This is my book report for the discussion for Module 10. This is the book I read called In the Realm of Hungry Ghost by Gabor Mate. He's a medical doctor, and he provided free care to in a clinic in the downtown east side of Vancouver. The purpose of the book is to be a debate-provoking book about illness. Mate explores the causes of addiction while sharing his own personal experience as a doctor. And each chapter talks about a different client and a different story, and each story is very sad, and some of them are more heartbreaking than others. Just what his clients go through. Most of them are homeless and sick, and they have AIDS, and most of them don't live very long. He thoroughly documents each of his encounters, and it's basically a personal narrative filled with other personal narratives of his patients. And I believe that the purpose that he had for writing the book was to expand the view of addiction and its sufferers. Let's see, some of the really things that were said in the book by Mate that were impactful to me were that Mate says when you're looking at addiction, he says you can't look at what's wrong about it. You have to look at what's right about it. In other words, what's the person getting from the addiction, which is usually relief from pain. So the question is not why the addiction, but why the pain. And the majority of his clients had been physically abused, abandoned, had very difficult childhoods. Excuse me. And he also says if you measure the success of a doctor by how long his patients live, then he's a failure, that he watched a lot of his patients, most of them, die very young. One of the things he talks about in the book that I found interesting and had vaguely heard about in the past was an experiment called Rat Park, where a lot of experiments have been done with rats and drugs, but the rats are isolated in a cage and left with a tap of, either just a inert substance or cocaine or some other addictive drug, and the rat will continually go back and become addicted and have to have the drug over and over again. But Mate talked in his book about Rat Park, which was an experiment done where rats were not just in an empty cage by themselves. They had, grass and playthings and social and female and male rats. And it was a little community called Rat Park. And in this scenario, with that environment, the rats were way less likely to continue to go back to the spout for the drug because they were happy. So that's a big difference with the usual rat experiments, and that sheds some light on the person's environment can make a big difference as to whether they're going to become addicted to something or not. The reason the book is called Hungry Ghost is because Mate talks about how hungry ghosts are Buddhist imagery in which ghosts with open mouths and skinny little necks are just hungry and you can feed them, but they're never full. And that's basically what he feels that he experienced in his time as a physician at the downtown east side Vancouver clinic. Was a bunch of hungry ghosts that could never be full. I'm a fan of Gabor Mate now. I did enjoy the book, though it was very sad. It was, some of the stories were really heartbreaking. But I like his theories. I'm a fan of his theories. One of the things he said in a TED Talk, which I would encourage you to look at sometime. It's only about 10 minutes. He did a TED Talk in Rio. And he states that we almost all have addictions. similar to oil, to consumerism, work, sex, shopping. There's he believes everybody has a little something. Yet we judge the drug addict and actually see that they are like us and don't like that they are like us. So we say, you're different and you're worse than we are. And that's a judgmental attitude that he thinks should change. And I'm a fan of his urging the public to take a different look at addiction and people with addiction. So basically that's my book report, and I still have a chapter or two left. I haven't finished it, but I plan to, and I'd recommend reading it. Okay, thanks.